This right here was really the only thing that I cared about. Whatever Zach is doing here, what the mini games will be like. Will Red 13 dance on the boat? Nah, dog. I'm here for one thing and one thing only. The return of Calm's very own Dirge Tomatoes! We did it, gang. We're back in business. So back. Kinda hecked up to think that I almost didn't experience it myself, though. Like, yeah, I love Final Fantasy, but as someone who just came off of a 94 hours long Yakuza 8 playthrough, aka the second Segway game, aka the other Dolphin Racing release, aka Bird on Head 2, aka the hey, here's a lay, vacay type games, the 100 units of touted 7 playtime pre-release was beginning to sound like a goddamn threat. Especially because, well, not all of those 94 hours were fun, I gotta admit. Not to say that I didn't like the game. Hell, I probably even loved it. As there's defo more of a elegance in the design of how side and main hang together in this entry than I'd argue the series has ever had. It doesn't tend to lock things off once introduced through plot progression, for example, nor does it dish out way too much at once either. It very gradually opens up and explains all its many things it's got going on. It is framed as if a wee Hawaiian vacation, you see, and so we naturally need dedicated room for doing odd jobs, crazy taxi style, or catching the cast going out for din-dins and shopping, super soaker, beach blasting one another, doing all the touristy things and riding the trolley buses, and so on. All equally doused in dialogue, world building, or stat progression, and often entirely integrated into the flow of the story. The story that is admittedly kinda nothingy. Ichi's looking for a lady you don't know or care about, nor does he know where to start, and thus hijinks ensue. That's pretty much the plot up until like 80 hours in when shit ratchets up. Which, honestly, that's not that odd for the series. I'd argue 5 also has a plot about jack shit, and Forza's is just zing zing, boing boing, poo poo pee pee time, whatever, anything goes. But the difference is that those two aren't 100 hours long. Like a dragon. More like a dragging the plot along so it can just yeet the player into various map systems and side stuffs that we made, which we never really thought of a solid enough framework for, narratively speaking. We really do be just jumping from beat to beat, with every beat basically being, oh well, that led to no new leads, nor did it get us to where we wanted, so, back to the streets we go. And these are amazing, beautiful, lovely, lovingly made streets. Most of them from prior games, sure, but contextualized as expertly as always, and the Hawaiian map is just wow. You can spend an entire other games' runtimes amounts of times on single street corners of this shit, buying t-shirts, raiding trash, finding last battle evidences, and you doing okay there, buddy? Hold on, let me see if we can move this bike right here. Oh, no, shut the fuck up. Shut up. Yeah. There we go. Hell yeah. Man, look at how pretty this is. Look at all the lights. This is so good. I like the chromatics. Look at the buildings and everything. Oh no. No! The benefit of having your game be about nothing is that set being put back out into the streets means that it can lead into sub-shit as if primary. Where the writing is so much snappier and less waffly than I found it to be in 7 or Gaiden or Ishin. All the individual quests and moments are paced honestly maybe better than anything this IP ever did. Not a minute is wasted, and like I said and also highlighted in my last video when pointing out the Skiryu stuff, it all flows very naturally. I mean it when I say that all the ingredients are here for one once-in-a-lifetime type chili that they left cooking for 100 hours. Thing is, as much as I like these locations and characters and the gameplay, I sure as shit was pretty fucking sick of seeing them by the end. Which led me to where I was a month or so ago. Concerned for these two gigantic games dropping back to back. Because could Disc 1 No Midgar of FF7 truly be flipped into a centennially length release? I don't know. I'd eat Kasuga's chili, no doubt, but I'm not sure what Cloud is doing over here. None of the greens are chopped, the cat's about to fall in, and there's a whole live frog in the pan. But, or maybe I'm just tripping and shit ain't that bad, and actually my playtimes are just bloated due to me leaving my recordings running during times like this.
No, I just want the controller. No, I just want to pick up the controller. I just went to the bathroom. I just want to pick up the controller. No. This fucking guy over here. Look at this fucking idiot.
Wow, that sure was the foot of Kitem. All right. Obviously, lengthy games have always existed, chiefly RPGs. Starting with the D&D back in the pre-video days, and come screens, folks started turning them into text adventures, which then gave way to the twin genres. Both of which, to varying degrees, relying on the hour-long talking, discussing, adventuring, traveling, creating, and number crunching over the course of weeks in repeated sessions, tenets of table-topping and dice-bottoming. Because of this, we started to get longer and longer video games, rich with dialogue, world-building, and gameplay that asked the player to slowly ponder what to say or do, or where to go in a given situation, combative or otherwise. And where it would have been one thing if this stuck to that strand of gaming evolution, we have now reached a point where damn near every game genre cribs from those elements. And that makes sense. Like sure, racing games came from a desire to simulate car and not dungeons or dragons, but at some point in simulating, you're gonna have to start assimilating all the factors surrounding said car. The tracks, maybe the racers, the upkeeps or modifying of a vehicle, the motivations for to race, and before you know it, you're rocking a bona fide car PG. And besides, I ain't stupid enough to think that any evolutionary strand of game existed in isolation. Romero did have RPG aspirations for Doom after all, and even someone like Smario came from wanting to do a adventure but just pursuing maximum linearity overall. And so, I defo understand why GTA started doing RPG elements. And why Castlevania started doing RPG elements. And why Need for Speed started doing RPG elements, thus leading us to where we are today with tons of games existing somewhat amorphously as Shoot Man, Jump Man, Open World Man, Vehicle Man, Sword Man, Dialogue Man, Side Quest Man games. But that does not necessarily have to infer a length. Take last year's RoboCop Rogue City, for instance. That easily could have just been a meathead shooter all the way, though it instead opted to weaponize the player playing the role of Robo to lend hecka time to the characters, the daily grind of his job, and the fully fleshed out exploring of the world of the movie far more than the movie, with its runtime and pacing necessities ever could, while also being a brisk 10 to 15, 60 minute having chunks of a romp. Well, honestly, while watching and playing both Robo medias back to back, I sorta came to realize something about myself, which in turn made me realize something rather crucial to what we're discussing here in this video. Thing is, I've always had some trouble watching movies. I used to chalk this up to simple, non-specific neurodivergence that makes concentrating on shit I'm not actually capital D doing difficult, but what if? Due to video games, movies have gone on to lack a sense of grounding for me. What I mean is I'm not playing as anyone. I'm not RoboCop. I am watching RoboCop. I never felt grounding within the movie. That, oh yes, this is me. This is who I control. This is my place, my objective when the cutscene ends. Which it never did, too. The cutscene never ends, and so I also never felt that, oh yes, now is when it starts. The routine, the loop, the plot. I felt disconnected. I played the game first and was expecting the seeing of Robo doing copping, but instead it was less RoboCop and more Robo realizes what is going on and goes on a Robo rampage. I feel like I might have developed some type of disorder by only playing games. Dissociative cinecomplex or whatever. Much to think about. Regardless, this experience led to me thinking that gaming as a whole becoming more and more RPG-y is simply games writing coming into its own, being less like movies or series or books with gameplay in betwixt, and more as if a D&D session, i.e. the OG Elden game, the gamest game, the core root of game, even perhaps, realized much more vividly as a interactive storytelling medium. Again, taking its time to do all the traversal, the talking, the pondering, the routine mundanities and the sniffing of roses that movies would cut and books may only tertiarily describe. Therefore, games becoming longer to facilitate that may also very well just be a product of games becoming more games, and I fucking love that idea. That said, once more, RoboCop does all the above and was only about 15 hours long. I talked at length about that in this one. Robert uses its smaller scale very well to create some of the most realistically detailed and lit environments I have ever fucking seen in my goddamn life. It's not coming out swinging with the blob rock Rebirth style. You know what I mean? Doesn't bust out that deadly premonition 2 trees a la Yakuza 8 either. And don't get me wrong, I fucking love these. And I fucking love how DP2 looks too, but my point is that the bigger your world, the more corners one is gonna have to cut. That's right, it's me, Texas Rufus, here with the Kumbot 2000, announcing that Shinra has moved away from Mako Energy and have forwarded our research to Cum Extraction. We got the Dick and Balls reactor, we got the estrogen materia, we got the chromosome bangle, the testosterone trains, and many much more. Together, we can save the planet by extracting the nuts straight from its planetary dickhole. I'm Texas Rufus, and I hope you too will be excited for the brand new future of Shinra. Shinra, when we see nuts, we go nuts. Yeehaw, baby! It's FF7 time! Cause goddamn, did they ever make a big-ass game out of this one? Much like Y8, this is really just a fun wee adventure vacation trip. The pace is slower, the environments are bigger, the characters talk, discuss, joke around, and vibe more. Just take it easy. It's not like we know where Benny is, so just follow the roped guys around and see where it leads.
It's just like Kingdom Hearts if you think about it.
Whether it be cruising on bows, playing cards on a cruise ship, chilling at the beach, doing arcade shooting, driving cars, luxuriating in the sun, or doing whatever this is. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is ostensibly just hang out and bond with these characters that you like the game, which is it not a mode a lot of games are getting into nowadays. Seeing as side quests went from largely being a simple please collect for me these 5 items, I will give you some money in return, to yo, you go collect these 5 things with me, you'll learn more about me along the way, we'll stumble into a cute moment once we're there too, and maybe we'll even meet someone new, and by the end of it, you'll have leveled up my homie stat, with which more random homie moments will unlock across the world in all smanner of surprising ways. You'll also unlock a new team attack with me, and here's some money and some minerals that you can use later to craft a new specific weapon for me, befit of my character. And also, the quest was actually just a cute little short story all along. Which, you know, that's quite the shift in commitment. Especially because you're very likely to encounter a minigame on in there too, or at the very least some breakaway from the preset RPG mode of walking, talking, and fighting. Which I think, potential bloat aside, is very much a good thing. I mean, not to shit on FF16 for no reason, but that game had tons of towns and open fields and linear dungeons and epic set pieces just as much as 7R or Yakuza 8 or even RoboCop does, but none of those ever broke away from the formula of walking, talking, and fighting, which I think hurt it in the long run, being that bitch wasn't short neither. I much prefer this all-integrated everything approach where things are as much set onto their own as that they contribute to one another, and the degree of which that they do merit a longer length, I'd argue.
What a thrill
Structurally, however, this necessitates a certain approach, a structural skeleton of big beefy support, if you will. Prior to playing, what I'd hoped them to do was take a format similar to 12, in which the world map would basically be turned into larger open map chunks, and the major cities acting more as if little hubs for them. For example, the bit from Calm to Chalk to Zalem would be one area, with the Chocobo farm dotted inside akin to 12's little safe point mini shop settlements. The Zalem bit being maybe its own little side zone attached to it, and the grasslands that were abstracted world map being de-abstracted into a wider, slightly more involved Mihen High Road type beat. Dot it with NPCs and maybe have a guy there whose car is broken down and you can help out by getting him car parts. Something like that. And they did do that, but the scale to which they did, I could not have fucking anticipated for the life of me. You see, I spent 7 hours and 45 minutes on that one little world map chunk alone, as it is not merely a 12ian map, it is its own open world. With Calm indeed acting as the hub town, the people you meet and things you do within correlating to and resulting in activities to be found out in the great outdoors. And the swamp was indeed its own side zone attached to it, and the Chocobo farm indeed as if a wee settlementy place, but all of it is so big, charactering the NPCs at the farm way more bigly than they ever was, and coloring in the grasslands with a plethoid of cornucopioids of stuff. Other farms, ruins, homes, caves, an entirely new sandy bit with a highway and clear this leads to Midgard type landmarks and so many fucking side quests and minigames and moments and all that to say that I wasn't actually sure if I really liked all of this that much early on, if I'm honest.
Chaos.
For what it's worth, I certainly did pick up on the expert world design at play. All the subtle emotions in the land, slopes and hills, rock formations, suggestions of faded paths, increases in tree densities or hard-to-traversables denotings no, maybe, don't go here's, and so many buildings and curios. This was a incredibly well-planned, crafted, and thought-out map to be sure. And yet, I still felt as if I was merely in just some field-ass field. Still just kinda some rock-ass rocky place. Just this boring cave with some mid-looking crystals skunking up and down the ridges somewhat. Didn't help that I thought the Nibelheim flashback was kinda weak. If you ask me, they stuck to the original script a little too closely here, so lines felt flatted on a meant-to-be-read and not read out type tip, and there was no shortage of reused Midgar assets in here too, which made me say, this again, huh? Then there was also the annoyingly slow and long limp dick walking bit extending what used to be a very punchy sequence, and just... Calm was beautiful, I suppose. I liked Calm, but then I wasn't entirely sure how I felt about the towers yet, and by and large, it all was a little too obviously like the original game, but magnified and stacked upon, if that makes any sense. Nothing excited me, I guess is what I'm trying to get at here. Or that was until Junon, where they switched it up and basically made a complete new chunk of game. Yeeting the Condor and looking at it from a lens of, okay, yeah, so old Junon is a fisher's town, but Shinra done indebted, and so fully explorable ships and boats will be crashed and abandoned across the shore, alcove some lagoons and islands, go ham with the Chocobo mountain climbing, at a lighthouse, some beautiful airy seaside topside boardwalks at a brand new mini town and towns burnt down, pontoon down the town down below, and turn the dolphin shit into the cutest sequence ever, in the bestest, cleverest, repurposable way to intuitively introduce youfers too. Culminating in a vast, dense, vertical, fun and well-designed exploration playground that I adored being in all the way. And when I finally did go up top, I witnessed nothing but the pure flex that is this recreation of the main street with a added fancy mall and all the cute wee shops and side moments the original had, but entirely new and fresh all the same. Like it's different, very different, but the vibe and intent of it is captured perfectly. making one go about town to gather soldiers for the parade, which ends you netting up this whole entire goof troop following Cloud about, which is really fucking funny.
Hey, which unit you guys with?
Looking forward to a celebratory drink, sir!
Can't wait, sir!
And thus, it started to set in that this Junon bit is honestly the perfect balance of scale, X detail, X exploration, X old, X new, X familiar, yet surprising. And that if they kept this standard up for the whole thing, then fuck yeah, I'm down for 100 hours of it, you bet. And against not a negligible amount of odds, they super fucking did as well. Thing is, every town has its own open map attached to it, with more directed linear segments in between, all rich with content that to me felt rather naturally flowing and paced, with each having, in my case, one whole beefy play session's worth of story, and a second whole beefy play session's worth of optional exploring, meaning that every play session felt distinct and fresh from the last. That is because every zones is entirely different, with Junon having big old boats, Corel being a cool Mad Maxian wasteland boasting bungle buggy bung ride adventures, Gangaga being a dense jungle with hella jumpy verticality and maze-like structures and a fair bit of hidden linearity contrasting the prior bucket. Cosmo is a canyon too, having paths separated by huge gorges only traversable by chocobo. Costa del Sol is really small but super pretty and full of zip lines, and so on and so forth. How you traverse, engage, and explore with these zones is unique to each, and me being me, the switch up in aesthetics is super valuable all the same. I mean, this is beginning to sound like a fucking crutch at this point, but I did love Yakuza 8, but it taking place in 3 districts with only one being new for the entire game made it feel very fucking long. Too long, honestly. I could have done with it being half as big as it was, closer to 5 or some shit. But Rebirth never felt long to me. I didn't have time to get tired of nothing, cause the variety is just that impressive. Nor is anything spread thin as it kinda was in Midgar. It's just so full of life, and high on quality. Even the side-ho cutscenes look and animated far better than they do in most other games, and I think the pacing in general is kind of incredible. Being that everything here got the big primary treatment. Like there's... Wow. Oh my god, that is such a crispy texture. Ooh! Yakuza AC, please move aside. The new hotness is in town. Ooh! Because there's a lot of little quality of life considerations at play here. Take the smegways, for instance. In Leica 8, you couldn't upgrade these bitches and had to get off to pick up items, and how they led into battles felt a little cumbersome, even if it does do the Earthbound clear a fight if you're a strong enough thing, because it does still play its lame little animations every time, and it does still do the battle end screens like it were in 1995. Stuff that's fine, but can become very grating when your game is longer than the average lifespan of a rat. No, not you. Spyro Rat never die. But in Birth, all the shit that's doable on foot is bowable all the same, and has hella customizability, and the battles are also super spiffy and quick. Any encounter ain't random, all battles are planned, and the battle planning might be the most mellowest I've ever seen in any RPG, and when you tower a tower, only 2 or 3 icons pop up at most. It's not like your shit's entirely flooded, swamped, and dicked down by icons at all fucking times. Sure, maybe Chatley feels a little forced to me as well, and maybe compared to 8's memorable wackiness, the side stuff isn't always crazy neither, but what this does have is no orb of non-canon. Ichiban is basically always alone the moment you veer off into shit. The party disappears and pops back up later. That ain't even remotely the case in 7. Red 13 will speak chicken like how guys spoke beaver. And maybe following this cow around isn't the most exciting thing ever, but you do get a very cute Cloud and Tifa moment in the sun out of it. Not to mention this beautiful mountain path area that's just... man, it's so pretty. This is a pretty game. That's less individual sub-stories and more grounded, heartfelt adventures that flesh out the cast at hand, and I think I might prefer that. Like, if Like a Dragon is gonna have a party from now on, then surely that should mean that they should be involved more too. Though both are solid in this regard either way, regardless. The amount of sheer entire areas or characters entirely relegated to optional content is beyond impressive, and I just love how in either release, I can simply sorta stumble into shit and find it more than worth my time every time. And also, bigness blurring lines between main and side aside, one could of course always blast away towards the main objective markers anyway too. If you do that in Rebirth, I legit don't think it'd be that much longer than disc 1 of the original game was, honestly, so I think it works out either way. When I heard that multi-part jazz suite over gameplay in the Yuffie DLC, witnessed my dad,
Bullshit.
Jack Garland, blasting Limp Bizkit from his iPhone, I felt a lot of very, very big emotions. Thing is, to me, moments like these are as if confident, celebratory, foot-down moments where Final Fantasy as a series pushes the pedal to the metal into the direction it's loudly been going in 10 onward. AKA when the series got good. Like the Dirge Edge, the 5-part jazz track for no reason is such a flex. A bold, creative flex. A flex that says, yeah, we are still that bitch. We are still that series. And to me, R2 being this large, with as much variety as it has, and moreover, with as much DNA of past games as it has, felt equally as a big A flex. A big bold foot put down, establishing what this franchise is about now. Playing it, I felt the same way I did back when I first played 13, or 12, or 15. This recurring emotion, vividly realizing that I'm playing a new Final Fantasy game that is real and is doing exactly what I like about Final Fantasy games. Everything from the FF9 Beanie Goblin being back, which is a image I obsessively have to post into my Discord server for no reason at least once a month or so, to the musical motifs calling back to 13y music, Nobuo-y music, and even 12y music and Junon. I love all the radical and wild departures into trap and EDM all the same. Same with all the dumb, wild new characters and dope designs. Like the fucking bouncer grandpa. Or the fucking bouncer cool card lady who's giving me some Echidna vibes for real. They defo listen to the complaints about one having stock asset store NPCs, cause shout out Big Bad Lady. Shout out Crop Top Mad Max Emo Guy. And shout out fucking Cisne being here straight up with the Crisis Core guitars. My fucking soul has left my body, I am dead, and validated in heaven right now. And overall, just being in sheer awe at the scope and density of everything. The moment I was swinging around as Yuffie, crashing myself into crates to sweeping strings in this beautifully intricate mine dungeon, I felt the adventure. And hey, the jazz is here right away when you step out of the hotel. Like, this is a fucking mood instantly. I goddamn love it. Despite what I said earlier about the games it's earlier, I love everything that they did here, including its length. But especially Kate Sith, he's like my favoriteest little man right about now.
We should go. Wait.
Though, yes, yeah. In conclusion, and to reiterate, games getting longer / all becoming RPGs is a product of their writing coming into itself. And that being written like a game and not a movie or a book spliced between bits of gameplay means turning to pre-video game stories, i.e. D&D sessions, i.e. RPGs. This is why Alan Wake 1 is still what I feel inclined to call a normal 10 to 12 hour single-player game, but the sequel, Boom, is well into the 12 plus range depending because it has side content, upgrades, and little open maps. It's been RPGified. Same way RE4 Remake is how it is as opposed to 4, embracing those sweet home JRPG and Alone in the Dark PC adventure origins to add side quests, flesh out characters, do more with stat progression, and therefore also. Which is interesting. See, I figured that the open world trend that took the tens by storm is due slated for a sliding. Post Death Stranding, Breath of the Wild, or Elmer Ring, it's like, what else do you even do, you know? And I pegged back in December 2022 that in their stead, linear games would be making a comeback, and they very well still may, but analysing what I postulated upon this script, I think maybe more so games will start going for that anal bead, linear to large open map and or open district type vibe, taking cues from how Yaku's CD Projekt Red's output and now 7R2 handles side quests by adding meat by way of RPG townification and cribbing some Dark Souls-y shortcutty open linearity over sheer endless scale. Or at least, I fucking hope so. Like, I loved the two main feature games of this vid, but I am also acutely aware that they were only able to reach their dense 100-hour marks by both being built off of the foundations of several older titles, reusing, recontextualizing, and even dragging and dropping in hella. And given how the games industry is now, shit of this scale should not become a generally expected norm. That's flat out going to kill people. If you'd ask me, I'd argue RoboCop again has the right idea here. It has all the meat, all the routines, all the side content, all the character development, all the exploration and dialogue moments, all the dice rolling and stat upgrading and linear and open areas mix up, but it's not giant. So, are video games getting too long? Well, looking at Yakuza, yeah, I'd say so. And there's probably tons of other games from the past few years I'd say that about too. But then I check that new Final Fantasy and go, ooh, well, maybe some elite few games with very specific circumstances should absolutely jump on the chance to make a game this breathtakingly epic, as it is truly something no other medium could provide this way. And I do think that's a special thing. Shouldn't be a standard, but as a big new facet of this already very varied medium and art form, yeah, fuck yeah. Flex on him, I'd say. Become the Yuffie's swag jazz and Riz eclipse these bitches into oblivion.